Hi everyone, welcome back. As promised, here is my weekly update on the library bus. Sorry it's a bit late in the evening, the lighting might not be that great, but I'll just give you an idea of what we've been doing this week. Hold on one sec. So I've just got a new mount for my GoPro, so it's just trying to get used to it. So these timbers are not staying, they're just making sure that I could climb around on the roof. Although it is strong enough, but just in case. So just to give you a rundown, all of the timber you can see in the roof is new basically. So originally there was a skylight there and it's now there. What you've got to keep in mind is the fiberglass roof is probably 15 years old. So as you start removing parts of the roof, the fiberglass separates from, I don't know if I can find a bit to show you. So parts of the roof there, that little white strip you can see is like an adhesive 3M pad. So that's how they put this all together originally. It's not the best way to do it, but it seems to be how they've done it. It's probably quick and easy when there's no fiberglass on the roof. They probably make the structure and then lay fiberglass on the top and then rivet it down. So as I've been cutting sections out, as you can see, I've cut this strip down there and moved it over to the right, as the skylights had to go over to the right because the shower is 700 deep, or wide, or however you want to call it. So that would have come where it would have been if I'd have left the skylight where it was, which is pretty much above this timber here. The shower would have been, the wall of the shower would have been over the skylight, so that just wouldn't have worked. So now the skylight is about 10 centimeters further over when you take into account the shroud and everything, because the opening of the skylight is not the size of that. That's for the whole skylight to fit in. So it will now be nicely over the walkway to the cab and to the bed, and there'll be a nice bit of daylight over the table and chairs that's there. Originally I wasn't going to put a max air fan over the shower, but actually it made more sense than putting it on this part of the roof, because as you can probably see, it just starts to slope down there, and it would have, I think, just been first of all, it would have got hit by any branches that they drove past, because it's taller than the skylight. Also, it makes more sense to, I think, to have some proper ventilation in the shower, so when someone has a shower they can put the fan on for 5 minutes and it will suck any steam out. You can see here, this is all the cutouts from this week as well, so this is the amount of fiberglass that's been cut off the roof in various places, even little slithers just to make it fit where I wanted it to fit. And this is the cutouts of the two roof fans. We've also got windows now. So this is the kitchen window. It's 900 by 450. And then this is the foot of the bed window, which is 1100 by 550. So you can see in the bed area, the main double bed area, there's going to be a big Hecky 2 skylight, a max air roof fan at the foot of the bed, and a window. So it'll be really good ventilation in terms of a fan there and a fan above the shower, so you could have one blowing in, one blowing out. And then just generally the bed area is going to be great with this big window on the side, which will be framed, as will that one. What you probably can't tell, or maybe any keen-eyed people will see, that the fiberglass is now looking black. Well, the reason for that is that after doing all of this modification to the roof, which has taken days, because sticking the fiberglass back down to the wooden frame that I've created has meant that the whole roof has got to be clamped. So I've had about 20 clamps in here holding all of these openings so that the fiberglass could first of all be stuck back down to the timber structure that I've added to blank off various bits. But it's also meant that the aluminium's then got to be sealed back down and clamped to that fiberglass, which has already been kind of flattened back down onto the roof, because what I'll show you is now the roof has been treated to 2 coats of this stuff, which some of you may know of or may not know of. This is the equivalent to Sticks Like, the Dog's Bollocks, HB42, EB25, OBD1, all of these hybrid polymer sealants. Oh, and also, yes, the dog is still a dog and very hot, because it's about 28 degrees at the minute and it's 7:30 in the evening. He's not loving it, but at least it's not raining. If I go up on the roof, you can get a better idea of what I've been doing the last couple of days. Is painting the roof in 2 coats of the HB42 waterproofer, which is basically a liquid equivalent of those adhesive sealants that I listed a minute ago. It's pretty mega stuff. So I've been round the entire roof. Along this edge here, there was sealant from 2007 when this was built, which had basically just turned into dry strips of nothing basically. So that's all been scraped off all the way round to the front slope, all the way back round again. And then all of these little chaps here are where there are rivets. So on the front of the bus, all of these have been sealed over the same way I've done them here, and they've been painted over when the whole bus was painted. But for some reason they decided they'd stop about 5% of the way down, and that was good enough, which is not good enough for me. So I've been around every single one of them. I mean, you do the maths, there's probably 100 at least, if not 200. So they've all been sealed with a hybrid polymer sealant adhesive, and then the whole roof has been then painted over. So obviously all of these bits of sealant where the aluminium has been stuck down underneath the aluminium where it's sitting on a support, and around the edge of it as well, which essentially means you have to place the aluminium, draw a line around it, mask a line around the line you've drawn by about 5mm, lay your sealant, and then stick the aluminium back down basically to give yourself a nice sharp line, which you can potentially just about see there, which has then been painted over by the polymer paint. So the whole roof has been sealed already and then painted over and double sealed basically. So this should in principle be able to drive under a waterfall once the skylights and the fans are in, and shouldn't leak, apart from maybe the Max Air Deluxe fans, which are always partially open given the shape of them and everything. But you know, silly kind of idea, but you get where I'm coming from. It should be able to handle torrential rain, and there should not be any leakage through any of these rivets, which in principle shouldn't leak, but I don't trust that they're not going to leak. So those are sealed, and they've obviously bothered to do it at the front for whatever reason, so potentially they can leak. So we've eliminated basically any chance of that happening, and the roof is now, you know, matches the rest of the bus. Yes, I know it's black, which may mean it attracts more heat, but if I'd have painted this white, it would have looked ridiculous. This paint has got very high UV resistance, and also the roof of this bus is going to have a huge amount of insulation. So in comparison to a metal roof, which is also going to hold a lot of heat in a van, you know, like the one there, this should be more than sufficient to, you know, the insulation should be more than sufficient to kind of deal with any additional heat a black roof may attract. You know, there's plenty of black vans out there that are made of steel, which people have converted and don't seem to, I'm sure, don't have any problem, providing they've been insulated and vapor barriered properly, which is what this will receive. The benefit to one of these well, let me try and climb down without killing myself. The benefit to one of these library buses is, first of all, it's massive. Second of all, it gives you you've got a bit more flexibility as to what you do with the roof. So, you know, a van's got its own set of problems in terms of you can't easily seal a roof fan or a skylight down to a bumpy roof, although we've got a process for doing that, which is tried and tested on multiple vans now, and we haven't had any leaks at all. Mainly down to prep, to be honest, but you've got to degrease the surface properly, and where needed, key up the surface as well before putting any sealant on. I'm not a big fan of seeing big clumps and lines of sealant all over the place, and also I see a lot of people using fixing screws, as you may be able to see on this van that's come to us, the roof fan now. I can't really give you a proper view of it, but that fan was fitted before it came to us. You know, the owner did it probably having followed a YouTube tutorial. Max Air roof fans no longer have holes pre-drilled in the shrouds for them, because you don't necessarily need to use screws to screw the roof fan down with 15 odd holes with a metal frame on the inside. That's just, you know, that's not a good way of doing it. That's not how we do it. I would always recommend that you prep the surface properly and you use a hybrid polymer sealant of some description. There's many on the market. They're all varying prices and things like that. But providing you prep and take the time to do it neatly, you can get a much better finish than putting loads of screws through. Because at the end of the day, if you put sealant over those screws, that sealant can come loose, because often screws have got a bit of oil on them and people don't tend to clean the heads of their screws off when they fit them anyway. So you're very likely to find that sealant has let go and you'll have a little drip coming through a screw hole. So yeah, that's where we are currently anyway. I'll do another video next week. It's unbelievably hot today. So the plan is next week that we start doing some, there is some cosmetic stuff that needs to be done above the door. If I just show you quickly. It's quite hard to tell in this light, but there is some surface rust here which needs to be dealt with, which we'll be doing next week. You might be able to see it better on this side, but there's a bit more light. Yeah, you can see it quite badly there. We've got the same problem on our bus, but it's less severe. So this needs to be cleaned off and made sure that there's still some good metal behind there, and then primered and painted again. In theory, the whole bus is getting a paint job, so we'll just paint it a gloss black, the same as the steps, as it's right underneath the sill anyway, and should, in theory, it'll probably be the same black the coach builder would have used. I doubt they've used a BMW diamond black paint. It's more than likely a pretty bog standard black gloss. So this needs to be dealt with on the inside and outside before we can start running cabling, just to avoid having to undo anything we've done. But the roof was a major battle to get right, so that the rest of the build is you know, all planned out nicely and run smoothly. So tomorrow I'll be sticking the skylights in and both the roof fans. So on the next video you can expect to see the ceiling no longer with these propping it up, because I've been climbing around on it, and you'll be able to see 2 skylights in with their inner shrouds and the Max Air roof fans fitted, which will really kind of close everything off, and we can give the bus a proper wash as well, which would be nice. And then it will be the start of installation and wiring. So thank you for watching. As promised, it's Wednesday and I'm filming another video. Sorry it's so late, because the battery on the GoPro was dead. I must have left it switched on. So yeah, stay tuned for next week's video, and thank you again for your patience and understanding that it's taken so long for me to get back into doing these kinds of videos. And thank you for any comments on the last video. As before, by all means leave a comment. I'd like to hear any positive or negative comments. Hopefully the sound quality is better than it was in past videos, as well, as I'm now using a GoPro Hero 8 instead of a Hero 5, which seem to have all sorts of weird background noise. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one. All the best.